Hello everyone and welcome back to PASSTHEauxCORD. It's that time of the year again, everybody. The end of it, that is. Of course, that means it's time for the year-end lists. I fear I may be a little bit late to the party, but as they say, better late than never. Our first list, or really lists, are going to be on EPs, and of course, EPs are typically a much smaller year-end list, if even one at all, but this year's EPs were really something special on both ends of the spectrum, good and bad, so I felt the need to make this list. We're going to do a top 5 in both best and worst of the EPs for 2025 because 5 is a nice rounded number and it covers everything I really wanted to. Bad news first is a good rule of thumb, so let's start it off with the 5th worst EP of the year. What a weird one, huh? Andre 3000 being regarded as the worst at anything feels straight up wrong. Obviously, the guy's a legend. Sadly, even if it doesn't change my respect for him at all in general, this new piano EP he did is just not it. A couple years back now, he did his 180 into ambient and jazz on New Blue Sun, and while Andre 3000 Flute album was a bit of a meme, it was a pretty good record overall. I liked it. Stepping away from the flute and picking up the piano, literally in one case picking it up, just hasn't been interesting though, and it's honestly kind of annoying if anything. This number 5 is far removed from the rest. It's not the worst thing ever, it's just a little grating and not very well made or impressive. It's generally just kind of disappointing. Bring back the flute, Andre. I think we all can agree that the flute stuff was a lot more cool retrospectively. Anyways, number 4.
And I just let it run. I'm stuck in traffic, trying to find my way to a home that I've never known on a GPS with no address.
This one goes out to the coworker staple, NF, with his new EP, Fear. Remember when I said that number 5 was pretty far removed from the rest of the picks? Well, yeah, we're spending the rest of the time here in the bottom of the barrel, starting with NF. Let me try to put this into terms y'all might get. This is the welcome to the madhouse of rap EPs, and that comparison works way too well, at least to me. I'm not even just talking the fake deep melodrama, not even the poor production quality, but legitimately the vocals too are weirdly comparable. NF has never really been a big favorite of mine, at least not for a very long time, but I don't think I ever would have called him annoying vocally. On here he attempts some melodic stuff and it just is not hitting whatsoever though. MGK has a feature on here, hooray, and oddly he matches this energy perfectly by sounding like he needs to clear his throat for the entire verse, an oddly fast verse at that, and as I already touched on, the production is downright abysmal on here, just sounds shitty, quite again unexpected for NF's usual clean, poppy, inoffensive, and acceptable sound. It's very corny too, but that much is expected. I think he's somewhat earnest on a couple of tracks, but perhaps to a fault. It's very cliche and overdramatic, and the issue is that that's not even the worst of it anymore. Those critiques have always been levied at NF, but they were usually the worst of it when it comes to his music. Not here whatsoever.
And I force them to the point of exhaustion and they have to pause. Do that shit again. Now sing it with your motherfucking friend.
This Busta Rhymes EP, seemingly the start of his Dragon season series, is the best funny bad pick I could really find. Bro really said,
Culture to uphold the fundamentals of the music.
And then proceeded to make music that completely ignores the basic fundamentals of how music is supposed to sound. We're truly scraping the bottom of that aforementioned barrel here. The only reason this isn't a 0 is because it's genuinely funny to an extent. I love that we got something fun bad in here. Busta sounds the most absurd, ridiculous, ill-fitting, and disjointed he ever has over some super goofy instrumentals, and the rest, I feel you kinda just gotta hear it for yourself. There might be some AI shenanigans afoot here, so I've heard anyways, but honestly I can't see it because the AI probably would have sounded more like Busta Rhymes than Busta Rhymes does here and would have sounded more put together. Apparently he followed this up with another EP and there's an album on the way. I have no idea if there's more gold to dig out of those ones, but I haven't heard them. I just heard this one and it's a hot mess, but it's very funny. Moving on to number 2. Yeah, next up here we got the sophomore EP from furry-themed indie pop artist Pent Up Pup titled fur slur. Sure, we'll call it that. It rhymes. Why not? We'll go with that. Right, obviously, if you've been around here for more than 6 seconds, you'll know I have no problem with queer people of any sort, and honestly, I don't really have a problem with furries, at least in concept either, assuming we're talking best case scenarios. Again, you know, benefit of the doubt. I wouldn't say I'm a prude when it comes to sexual themes in music either, even when in dramatic excess at times. That can be fun if it's done right. At some point, however, you hear a lyric like this over a Kesha interpolation, and you gotta draw a certain line. Not that I really want to put a ton of respect on the Pent Up Pup name, but honestly, the previous EP was a lot better too, because at least that sounded somewhat interesting. It was more of a hyperpop thing than anything, I guess, but if you ignore the lyrics and aesthetics entirely here, it just sounds like British chain smokers, and that's how I'd put it, I guess. Just really bad electronic infused pop music. There's not really any musical merit in it as far as I'm concerned, right down to the terrible Kesha interpolation I already mentioned. Everything else is just really gross to me, I'm sorry. Hopefully nobody takes any of that the wrong way, but Jesus Christ, just mentioning this one makes me feel like I need to take a shower. Moving on to the top worst EP of the year.
I'm outside eating keyboard duster, rolling around piles of shit in my dumpster.
If Jades has 1 million haters, I am one of them. If Jades has 10 haters, I am one of them. If Jades only has 1 hater, that hater is me. If Jades has no haters, that means I am no longer on the earth. If the world likes Jades, I am against the world. Dude, the lore runs deeper than the Congo River on this one, alright? If you know, you know. If you don't, get on your knees and thank whoever. I think he's in prison now. I hope so, but hopefully he makes music through the prison phone so that I can keep this a tradition and keep it alive and put him #1 worst for something every year, because I can't imagine the music getting better. And of course the cover so tastefully uses a image from a certain challenge that I can't really mention or nobody will see this video, and I have to blur it too, I think, because probably like pattern recognition. Again, it's kind of like an if you know you know thing, but like, don't go out of your way. Don't go out of your way. This is dumb, this is stupid, this sounds fucking awful. So that sure was fun, huh? Alright, let's talk about the other side of this list, starting with the number 5 best EP. After a super sick album from last year that was aesthetically interesting, totally different, out of this world in a way, Igloo Ghost came through this year with a smaller second helping. It's more premium quality, intergalactic space alien type shit, and I am eating it up, no doubt about it. What Igloo Ghost is making right now is so cool, so interesting, I just can't help but to love it. It's still leaning into the type of things that many terminally online folk may refer to as post-rap, but really it's all just kind of strange electronic music and industrial stuff with a little sound collage mixed in here and there, and of course, rapped vocals much of the time. The beats emit radioactive neon colors for your ears. The vocals are lovable with an odd slant. The hooks are simple but oddly effective. This whole style just fascinates me. It's certainly not as huge and substantial as this previous record from last year, but it's easily worth checking out. Alright, now let's continue the list of bangers. I cannot properly explain just how close all of these projects are to each other in quality to me, and it's all super high, almost perfect territory from here forward. Putting Ethel's latest EP this low on a list feels wrong to me, but she was kind of cheating, to be fair, so it is what it is. The reason I say that is this is 9 tracks and 89 minutes, not exactly what I think of when considering the typical length of an EP. That is far from where the oddity of this project stops, however, because it certainly isn't what you'd expect if you're accustomed to Ethel Cain's typical style of songwriting. Instead, this is a full dive into the uncanny and uncomfortable subgenre that is dark ambient, with some notes of field recordings type sampling that make the project all the more unsettling. It keeps up the religious imagery and incorporates it well to some extent, and if you want to qualify it as one at all, really this EP takes you on a trip. To some extent, there is a strong, tangible atmosphere in this project during its lightest moments, but especially so in its most hazy and ominous moments. Ethel Cain could easily soundtrack some psychological horror. Also, oddly, she described this project as feeling erotic. I have no idea if that's meant in irony. It's certainly a bit puzzling, but okay then, more power to you either way. Let's move right along. I Chased a Crow is someone that specifically sent me her music, and I am so glad this EP was pointed out to me because it is genuinely fantastic. I think what we're looking at here is easily one of the most interesting artists within the general realm of folk music, and one of the most interesting underground artists in general that I'm aware of. This EP uses the format of one long track with chapters, think similar to Steroids by Death Grips, and it's one of the best uses of that format I've seen. This kicks off melancholic, slow, somber, and calm, and reaches an eventual explosive, loud peak that couldn't have been pulled off any more effectively. This is a potent burst of strong, heavy emotion, and it's very natural and replayable despite the ambition and inaccessibility to an extent of it. Anybody looking for some of that more raw, lo-fi type of vibe and a huge, dense dose of passion needs to go give this a look, and needs to stay tuned as well for more I Chased a Crow music in the future for that matter. Moving on to the next on the list. When the most accessible and widely recommendable project on a list by far is beatdown hardcore, I start to wonder if I may have scared some people off. Sorry if that's the case. If you're still here, A, thanks. B, check this shit out. It's so fucking sick. Back in 2024, I saw these guys open for Knocked Loose, and I've been a fan to some extent ever since. They gave an absolutely brutal performance that went so damn hard. All My Angels isn't exactly revolutionary for hardcore. It's not breaking the mold in any ways, but it is exactly that makes it very fun to listen to. This shit is badass, hard-hitting, beat the shit out of you music, and it is so sick. Truly my only complaint is that this is only 9 minutes and 3 songs. If this was an album length, I'd easily put it high up on the albums list, I think. I think these guys are some of the best in hardcore right now, even if they're not necessarily doing something super new with it. But if you're into heavy shit at all, make sure to take a look. You'll have fun with this one. And number 1. Odd and totally coincidental, but this is the second of 2 one-track EPs from someone who sent me their music specifically on this list. Odd that it turned out that way, but regardless, this is amazing. Young Exile's music up until the point of this EP has been rooted in southern hip-hop, more specifically a bit of the Memphis sound, as well as some of the trap metal sounds popularized by artists like Denzel Curry. Those influences naturally mix well on their own, but what if you took them somewhere else entirely? Somewhere unexpectedly devious and sinister, perhaps? Well, then you'd get this EP. While there certainly is rapping throughout, an ominous hook and fantastically dark imagery included, it's not even entirely a rap project this time, instead working in some very harsh and dark musical influences. Ambient plays a role, industrial plays a role, there's even some niches of noise music you could apply to certain parts of the track without spoiling too much. What I will say is that it's a bit of a concept record though as well, simply stated by Young Exile himself as to have been inspired by a nightmare that really stuck with him. This nightmare had to have been on some demented shit, and as someone who also gets some really strange dreams, I can attest that he nailed the vibe of such an experience in musical form. I love the concept, I love how unique and inspired this feels. Truly, I love just about everything about this EP. It is something that feels like it's made for someone with my taste because of how much I like disturbing music. Whole video on that, by the way. But I think anyone can at least find some fascination with this one. It's truly some great stuff. So that's really all we got for the EPs this year. Again, I don't always do an EPs list, but this year it felt special in the realm of EPs, and especially just how divided they were in quality. My bottom 5 here, excluding Andre, are truly like the worst shit I could possibly serve up to you. But the top 5 are the cream of the crop, some of the best peak music I've heard this year. I said it before, but everything on the best list is practically equal in super high quality. Take the descriptions more into account than the ranking because it was very hard to determine which ones I liked best of all. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the list, and make sure to stay tuned as there's more year-end lists on the way. Remember to like and follow for more music-related content, and I will see you in the next video.